brothers have been in and out of jail my whole life. And I would have never let one of my brothers sit in jail. Both of my brothers are in jail right now. One of them has a bond that's $1,000, $1,000. Like seriously, I could spend $1,000 on a purse. Like I have $1,000 to go get my brother out of jail. And once upon a time, the feeling of going and bailing my brother out of jail was so rewarding for me. I have to ask myself, was it for me or was it for him? Like, was that my worth that I put like that feeling that one, I had $1,000 that I can just blow on getting someone out of jail, or the feeling that I rescued him? Like, welcome to Lead Like a Girl, where we are empowering everyday women through our stories. I'm your host, Jessica Smith, and I began this journey by sharing my life story. Now, I've joined forces with my longtime friends, Jamie and Coralyn, to keep this party going. We met many years ago as young sales girls in our 20s, driven and quickly rising to the top of our industry. As the years went on, life happened, and we all found ourselves in new companies and completely different industries, still striving for success in it all. Career, family, faith, fun. Now, it wasn't easy, but we never stopped moving. Get ready for our real conversations, inspiring stories, and our big life lessons as we share it all. The good, the bad, and the funny. Welcome to Lead Like a Girl. Welcome to another episode of Lead Like a Girl. So I just want to kick this off with, did we already celebrate? We're going to keep celebrating Jamie's big birthday. Yay. Jamie, you should be proud that you're turning 50 and that you don't look 50. So if I was 50 and I didn't look 50.
It hasn't happened yet.
Did you just think you were 50 for a minute?
No. I just thought that, yeah. So anyways, Jamie's turning 50 here in a week or so. So we're going to just start celebrating. Every episode is going to be a happy big birthday to Jamie.
You're 49 and 11/12.
Well, can I be that forever? Can I just keep it the 49?
I went out to happy hour with a friend. I had no idea that I'm such a bad friend, by the way. Anybody who wants to be my friend, you do not want to be my friend. She just turned 60. And I'm like, girl, if I look that good at 60, like I would wear a shirt that
remember those shirts that good at 47 and holding.
Hey, remember those shirts that we used to wear?
You'll look that good.
Yes, thank you. But you remember the shirts we used to wear that said "Ask Me," and then the back of it said "How to buy it cost."
Oh,
you guys,
yeah.
Okay. Well, I told her I would wear a shirt that said "Ask Me," and then on the back it said "How old am I?" I would totally, if I look that good at 60, ask me, how old am I?
Heck yeah.
Anyway, so happy birthday to Jamie. And listen, you guys know that I am just obsessed with Mel Robbins, everything. So shout out to Mel Robbins if she's listening. Hey, you never know.
Funny story before you hop into this. I'm hijacking this. I was laying in bed last night and my husband brought a book to bed, which very rarely does. He's totally an Audible listener. So he listens to books, but definitely not a hardcover book. But he comes into bed. He's like, I'm going to read a book. And he brings in the Let Them book to bed.
Really?
But here's the funny thing is that he takes the book jacket off and it's not even the Let Them book. It's her other book that is like the 5-second rule or something like that. And I'm like, you have the wrong book jacket on, but is it also a Mel Robbins book?
I would have, oh my gosh, I was so expecting you to bring up like some other completely off.
I know. I feel like the lead into that story could have been when a total, it was very PG, but it was like very funny that
could have went so many different ways. Well, listen, this is what I have to say too. I have to ask all of our listeners, if you're like me, have you ever laid in bed at night and you just can't shut your brain off and all you're thinking about is how you can fix everyone else's problems in your head? I don't know if I'm the only crazy that does this, but if you are one of those people, this episode is your permission slip to stop. Okay. So and I know we've talked about, Mel Robbins and Let Them and all this before, but today I just want to focus on the core four, right? Those core four let them truths, and we'll get into them, which are: you are not responsible for someone else's happiness. Let them be unhappy. Okay. You are not responsible for rescuing people. Let them learn from life. You are not responsible for making people understand your choices. Let them be confused. You are not responsible for making people like you. Let them underestimate you. That's my favorite one. And we're going to get into those things, but I want to start off with just, of course, a quick icebreaker here. And hopefully you ladies did not read my notes. So hopefully it'll be.
Well, I walked in the door 5 minutes ago. So
there you go.
We are perfectly unprepared for you. You're welcome.
I hope so.
Okay. So my icebreakers for today. So what's one situation where you felt responsible for something that really wasn't yours?
How about every single time one of my teenage daughters made a mistake? Because I remember just like so many times saying to them, if you would have just listened to me, none of this would have happened. Like all you have to do, I've made all of these mistakes before. All you have to do is listen to me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good one. And I think for those of us that have raised kids that are adults, that's a big one. And I'm going to give you a different one just because I know you thought of your answer, Coralyn, and we're practicing impromptu.
I'm sorry. I feel like that happens too much. I jump in and then Coralyn's like, crap, I had an answer for that.
Yes.
It's okay.
Okay. See. What's harder for you? Letting people be unhappy or letting them misunderstand you?
I definitely think the misunderstanding for me. I think that if I feel like somebody's not understanding my point of view, I will go to the nth to over explain myself to make sure they understand where I'm coming from, why I made the decision that I did. And then also what I'm anticipating happening. You know, that is definitely a character flaw of mine that I have had to recreate and recorrect. Just say the thing, let it sit there and just be. I don't need to overplay and overthink what other people are thinking, but yeah. I mean, I don't want people to be unhappy either because I don't really follow astrological signs, but I am born in the month of October, which makes me a Libra, which intrinsically is like balance is a thing. And so if somebody else is unhappy, like I want them to be happy. So I will poke the bear and figure out what is like, why, like what's going on. I can feel the tension. Like, let's just talk about it.
Yeah. But I think you are right. I think knowing you and you tell me, Jamie, I think that her first answer is it is harder to her. Yeah. Letting people misunderstand her. So
yeah.
Thanks for your honesty.
You can't let it go unless they exactly know what you mean.
Right.
You know what's funny about that is I just had this conversation. I was walking with my husband yesterday, actually, or on Saturday, whatever. It was like super nice out. We went on a walk and we were talking about this exact thing in a different context. But I was telling him that I remember in high school that I had a teacher that I got so mad because the long story short is that she gave us an example for an assignment we need to do. And so I recreated my homework exactly the way the sample project was. And I got it back and I got all these marks on my paper that I did it incorrectly. And I went back to her and I showed her the two things and I said, this is the same work. And she had made reference that the book that we were reading said to do it differently, but her sample was an incorrect way and I should know better not to follow her sample, that I should follow the book. Well, that did not sit with me at all. And we ended up escalating. And I was like 10th grade. So like 16 years old, maybe.
Oh.
And I got so mad at her. She sent me out of class. And I was like never like that. And I got so mad that she would not bend, that she just asked me to leave the classroom. And I had to literally go to the principal's office over a homework assignment in 10th grade that was completely like how to like word process a document. It was so dumb and so insignificant, but it was like, I wanted her to understand so much. This is why I did what I did, and you should just see it my way. And I was telling my husband, like, that's why, like, this is not just a new thing. This is a deep-seated
right
problem.
Yeah, this goes way back. Well,
Yeah.
listen, today we're unpacking, like I said, these 4 powerful truths from Mel Robbins that will absolutely shift how you show up, not in life, in leadership, in relationships, and really, I hope, give us a new peace of mind. Stop wasting time on things that you can't control. Focus on, and we've heard this millions of times, right? Focus on things that you can control, which is you, yourself, right? So the first one, again, is you are not responsible for someone's happiness. Let them be unhappy. And this one, I really thought about you, Jamie, because you want everyone to be happy always. I just feel like it's like you care about other people's happiness probably more than your own. And you know this about yourself. You're a people pleaser, right? So, but women often carry the emotional responsibility for everyone in the room. That's kind of just how we're wired. And it's like what I call emotional babysitting. So, you guys tell me when you think about feeling responsible for other people's emotions or how this shows up at home or even at work. Like, how do we change that where we let people really just be in their own feelings? And I know for me, I think what taught me a lot about this is, again, raising kids and having adult children. Like, where are you guys at with all that?
I think some of that goes back to the episode we did on being an introvert versus extrovert, because caring a lot about the people around you, caring a lot about your family and friends, putting forth a lot of extra effort in making sure that they're happy, healthy, in a good mental space, all of those things, it's draining on you. And then I think, unfortunately, for people who are people pleasers or people who focus a lot on the people around them and making sure that they're all okay, unfortunately, you get to a point where people stop checking in to make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, you get to a point where you just kind of break down. There's a person in my life who recently said, I got to the point where I had to go see someone and go start medication because I could not get out of bed. Like,
Yeah.
I literally couldn't. And it was essentially that same story. Like, I've been spending so much time taking care of all these people and making sure everyone's got what they need that I was spent. And I think that's unfortunately what happens. And I haven't figured out the fix yet, what those signs are that show you, hey, it's time for you to focus on yourself. And maybe that's just the simple act of saying, I'm getting to the point of, like, I need somebody to check in, what's that saying? Like, check in on your friends that are quiet.
Yeah.
But I think a little bit is that introvert extrovert thing as well, where there are people where you might notice, hey, this person kind of checks out after a while, or this person needs to be alone to refresh their energy. That might be a little part of that, when you realize that you've got this person in your life that does kind of like check out for the weekend or start saying no to the social obligations and things like that. Just and it's something that honestly recently personally came up where it's like, man, nobody checks in on me. Not to say that's, doesn't happen to a lot of people, but I just think that's what happens. You get drained. And I think, I think that might be something to, not only for myself, but I think a lot of people need to figure out what's the fix, what's the sign.
Yeah. I love when Mel Robbins says their emotions are not your assignment. And that really spoke to me. And it's like, are we helping or are we controlling the outcome?
Mm-hmm.
And me being, a little bit of a control freak, but I always say, like, I just want the best for people. And I clearly know what you need to do. I have this little plaque that says, I'm not bossy. I just know what everybody should be doing.
Yeah.
And
I'll throw this wrench into the mix. When you were talking, Jamie, it made me think of, even you said, let's go back. You went back to an episode, but I would say even let's go back to our childhood. And I wonder, I'm not a psychologist, but the upbringing where you had a either a traumatic experience, you have parents that went through divorces, your parents were arguing a lot in front of you. I feel like a little bit of that stems from you wanting to keep the peace because there was so much chaos around you that you would overly try to compensate to make sure everybody is good, because you're just trying to eliminate the yelling and the arguing, and you don't want to set off anybody.
Yeah.
Because then you do the wrong thing, you break the dish, you don't do your chores, then it's an argument. And so you kind of tiptoe through life trying to make everything right. And
Like-
that becomes, becomes of who you are. Like, oh, I just want everything to be peaceful.
Yeah.
Well,
Like nice
Yes.
and neat and peaceful and everything's fine. It's like everything's fine. I have a sticker on my big water bottle and it's got like a rabid a possum, and it just says everything's fine.
of course it's a possum.
Yeah.
It's like a rabid.
No, but you are a psychologist, Cor, because that was what for years I have talked to someone, and one of my, I don't even know how to call, one of my big people that I thought was my responsibility was my brother. And he is 2 years older than me. And this goes back to being, this is no joke. My mom tells the story all the time, and she jokes how I used to get him dressed in the morning for school. I used to tie his shoes. I used to make sure his backpack was at the door. And I was in 3rd grade and he was in 5th grade. And that's when it started. And that was the feeling of all the things that was going on around me, that I felt, oh my God, I gotta stop this from happening to this kid, and I gotta protect. And I literally took that into adulthood, like not just with my brother, but with everyone, especially when the things that I did for him in my mind did save him so many times. And I'm like, I got to keep doing those things because I created this superhero for myself that if it wasn't for me, this kid would have gotten in so much trouble. So I think it does go back to really having to go back to that little girl of where it started, where it, like the root of the issue. And you have to almost go back and and this is where my therapist helped me. Like, you need to go back and you need to look in the mirror and have a conversation with that little girl. Like, literally, I'm imagining my little pigtails, the little curls in my hair. You got to have a serious conversation with this little girl in order for you to get things right, because that's where it started. Like, so you're spot on.
But the solution that your therapist said, it wasn't to not care for your brother. I mean, that's not even your character.
Yeah.
To not care. So what is in that solution? What did you tell that little girl?
Well, and so this gets us to number 2. You are not responsible for rescuing people. Let them learn from life. And seriously, it's like in the last few years, I've even had to like forgive myself, because I'm like, now this man, I have to start, because for years I've been calling him a kid. This man is actually going to be 50 years old this year. And I have to ask myself, did I prolong his learning journey because I have enabled him all these years by trying to rescue him instead of letting him fall, live life, learn, and all the things? So there's that.
That's a hard burden to carry, and I don't think that is necessarily true. I think it's probably a both and with you and your brother. I mean, I know your brother a little bit. Jamie does too, and I think that it's not 100% one way or the other. If you just did not hands-off care, it's hard to prove a non-event, right?
Yeah, but the question is, can rescuing actually stunt someone's development? I think the answer is yes, right?
Well, what makes me think
that's what helps you stop doing it. I
I
think.
had a conversation with a girl that was a woman. She's a psychologist, like a play psychologist or something, like a theory of play, like how being rough, especially for our boys that are growing up, is important. Being a helicopter mom and making sure that your child never goes through any pain is probably the worst thing you can, not maybe the worst, but it's a really bad thing that you can do for your
Yeah.
boy, because if they don't understand the pan is hot by touching it, then they're gonna touch a super hot pan at some
Right.
point, and they're gonna like completely burn, versus like a little touch or something like that. Or when they are climbing up a jungle gym, if they don't understand where their boundaries are, they're gonna realize at some point they have some boundaries when it's really, really dangerous. So if they don't learn those things incrementally, then it's a huge, like, you're just gonna set them back at some point. Like they're gonna learn eventually. So
Right.
it's better to learn incrementally when they're younger. I did totally botch that. She's gonna come back at me and say, that is not how I explain that. Well, you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm going to go back to practicing, with our kids and in some cases, even in relationships. The question is, and I'll ask you, Jamie, with your.
Yeah, I was thinking, as you guys were talking, I was just thinking about how many times I've compared, I guess, the way I was parented. So when you talk about boundaries and you talk about, I guess, the freedoms I had when I was young, growing up, let's say teenage, young adult. I mean, I had no bound. I mean, I was completely independent. I mean, at age 13, my parents stopped paying for anything. They didn't parent me in any way. You know what I mean? I went to college, figured out my own thing, moved out at 18, whatever. Um, and I always bring this up to my daughters. Like when we went to see college visits, I'm like, yeah, my mom never did this, and just very, very different way that I grew up versus the way my kids grew up and the way that I was their mom. And I don't think I was I wouldn't call myself like a helicopter parent, but I was very present. I was there with them through all these things. And when you talk about boundaries, it's like, I definitely probably invaded their space a little bit more than I should have, because it was just the three of them and me. So it was like I wanted to be part of all these experiences that my parents were not any part of. But at the same time, I think about it, life is so different for our kids growing up now than it was. There's all these memes and funny things about like 80s kids or 90s kids versus like 2020 kids. It's different. But, I really do think it comes down to your ambition, your personality, your responsibility. I definitely think it does come down to just the kind of person that you decide that you want to be. I have a really, really great friend of mine that we grew up together, and she was quote unquote quite privileged. Grew up in a very wealthy family. College was paid for, rent was paid for, got a credit card so that she can put anything on. Whereas, it was just me doing my own, I was taking care of myself. And I remember her saying, like, I just wish you had what I had. Like, I wish you didn't have to do all this. And but the way she lives her life is like very generous, very caring, helps others. I just think it's more about the kind of person that you want to be rather than like what's given to you. So that probably didn't even answer your question, but I was just thinking about that. When you're talking about trying to help others and you're talking about, like what kind of parent, the helicopter parent versus the absent parent, whatever. I think that whichever, it matters, but I don't think that it has quite as much impact as what the person deciding what they want to portray into the world. And maybe that's more important than helping them stop touching the hot pan. Maybe the more important thing is helping them decide how do you want to express yourself into the world? How do you want other people to see you? That might be more of the help that we want to help them do, in terms of children.
Right now I'm working with somebody, and it has been so fun to watch her become like grow from. Let me back up. She came to our company right out of college, and so she's had other jobs. She's extremely hard worker, but this was, I would say, probably one of her first actual corporate jobs. And we've gone through some learning experiences where we are making events or doing different things where I could sit back and say, here's all the different ways that we can do this. And this is exactly the way that I would do it. Like I would do this and this and this and this. And I have had to, or I've chosen to just step back and just let her, okay, well, how do you want to do this? And how do you see this playing out? And what do you want to do? And just pushing it back to her. And the best part about letting her roll with some of these things where I feel like I'm always there, like I'm there to catch you if we make a mistake. But time after time, she thinks of a new idea or a different way to go about it that's better than I would have come up with. And if I would have just micromanaged the crap out of every single thing that we've done, then we would have missed that great idea that she had, or that more efficient way of doing things, or taking a look at a different thing. So I think that coaching versus, I can't remember exactly the way you put it, Jess, but like, I just think when we allow people to be who they are, it works the betterment for the team because I get to learn right alongside. And then there's always that little bit of redirecting or coaching, or did you we forgot, we got to think about this point over here. But all things considered, I think when you work together as a team and you both have the same outcome, there's a lot of different ways to get to the point or the end line that you want to go to.
I love that you said that. I think that's probably one of the best coaching that I've ever received, when I had a mentor say to me, tell me first, what would you do? That's because it puts it back on the person. And then, like you just said, sometimes you get this answer, this idea that you didn't, and then you can also always come back with, okay, great. Awesome. Here's have you thought about this or whatever. I love that. I love that you use that. That's great.
Yeah. Coaching versus rescuing. There's been times where I can clearly see, and of course it's easier to do it with your direct reports than your kids, by the way, but I can clearly see that someone's headed for a place where I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work out very well for you. But in a lot of cases, I remember going down that same road and I remember learning so much from it. And I'm like, I don't want to take that from them. I'm going to go ahead and let them go down that road, and they're going to be able to learn exactly what I was able to learn. And it works like a charm every single time. And I'm reminding myself always, especially when I see people and I see myself in them, it's like, I don't want to take that from them. The learning experience that I have and that I remember in those moments, a lot of them have shaped me into the leader that I am. And why would I rob them of that? So I think that's a great point when it comes to leadership. The next one is
just changing the words that you use. I have gravitated more towards, instead of the first thing out of my mouth is I would do this, or I'm thinking this. It's a question. Yes. What do you think about that? Where should we go? Like, what are our different options? Like, just pushing, like constantly pushing that hot potato back to them, and just like, let's have an open dialogue. So it's always pushing back to them. Because otherwise, the bottom line is that if I keep telling you what to do, then I should just do it myself. And why are we doing this? Like, I want you to be involved. I want you to be a part of this team, and I want you to execute this in the way that you think it should happen. Because then the other thing too is, like, once they go through and figure it out for themselves, this situation is going to happen again. Maybe it'll look a little different, but then we're not going to have this conversation. You're just going to do it because you already figured it out the first time.
Absolutely. Yep. So the third one is, you are not responsible for making people understand your choices. Let them be confused. Now, this one, I think I've mastered. For whatever reason, it was something that I struggled with before, especially like when it comes to like your career, relationships, just different moves that you make. And for me, of course, being a teen mom, starting my career really early, I have very successful older sisters. And it was always like, well, why are you doing that? That's a bad choice. Don't do that. That you're going to end up like this. And so it feels like I rarely took the advice and things worked out for me. And what that did was that helped me build confidence in my own decisions. So I think that you don't need consensus to move forward in your decision making. Is this something that you guys have struggled with? You've overcome it? What's your thought on number 3?
I think the best thing that you can do is surround yourself with people who just genuinely want you to be happy, so that whatever your choices are in life, the best thing I've ever heard from people is just, if that's what, I just want you to be happy. And if you know that that's what they want, those are the people you have to be around. The people who say, well, what are you doing? Wait, why is this? I don't want those people around at this
Yeah.
point in life. 20 years ago, I remember putting a decision off that I really needed to make because I was so worried about people saying, like, looking down on me, looking at me
Right?
like, you made another mistake. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's about the only thing I want to say about the topic is just when people who say, I just want you to be happy.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm going to make a confession of myself. Marriage, like this is my third marriage. And, one of the things that she says is clarity doesn't require agreement. And it's like, I know I've made a lot of bad relationship decisions, even outside of the husbands. There's been a lot, right? Like, I get it. Thanks for reminding me. But that didn't stop me from still wanting to be happy. And I believe in marriage and I've always, wanted to be married. And honestly, it wouldn't have mattered to me at this point if it was a fourth or fifth, or I was like Elizabeth Taylor at this point. It's like, it doesn't matter. But it took me a long time because I did care about what other people thought. And, I think that they did genuinely want me to be happy and they thought they were telling me the right things because they could clearly see that I was headed in the wrong direction. In many cases, they were right. But I'm like, no, you know what? I'm gonna go for it again. And I'm not gonna apologize to anyone for my decisions. Where are you at, Core, with number 3? What do you think?
Well, I kind of had the confession at the beginning of the conversation, but this is something I struggle with less now, but definitely have struggled with caring way too much what other people think. And so I've always had a tendency to over explain or know where we're headed, but also wanting to justify actions that we're taking to get there, or that why I did this or why I'm not doing this or whatever the case may be. So I feel like I can relate to this 100% and also understand that I would have saved myself tons of heartache, tons of explanation, tons of grief, wondering, fill in the blank with all the things of just stopping and just saying, I want to do this because I want to do it. And that should be sufficient,
Yeah.
right? Like I
Mhm.
don't owe an explanation to anybody, even though that's sometimes how I felt, because I just wanted it to be, wanted to go there with somebody else. Like, oh, this makes sense, right, guys? Like trying to get affirmation from other people and
Mhm.
getting agreement. So so I'm not by myself or whatever. Like fear of making the wrong decision, fear of maybe that decision is not the easiest way. It's hard, whatever the case may be. It's just, yeah. So I'm there. I can relate. It's a struggle. It's a struggle
Yeah.
point, but
Yeah. I think, it's like you can be at peace even when others are confused. So I think back, for me, the biggest decision that I made that people did not approve of was leaving Chicago, moving to California, selling my house, being a single mom with 2 boys and moving across the country. And like everyone was like, you are out of your mind. Like, this is the dumbest decision you've ever made. It is so expensive to live there. You have the American dream. You bought a house at a young age. Like, you have your whole family. You need blah, 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 blah. And it was like the more people tried to talk me out of it, the more I wanted it, because the more of a challenge it was to prove them all wrong and to say, I'm going to do this. And this isn't just going to be good. This is going to be great. And I'm so grateful that it was, because I took the leap of faith despite what everybody told me that was the worst decision that I was making. So that just always comes to mind when I think about decisions. Number 4, you are not responsible for making people like you. Let them underestimate you. Again, this is one of those that I think that I was always very concerned with people liking me in school. I wasn't the most popular, but I was in the cool group, and I didn't like mean girls. And I really it was something about Mean Girls that I really, really went out of my way to have something to prove. Uh, but I still wanted people to like me. And I took that in and I said, well, if people like me, then I could be a better influencer. And I just want the best for people. So they have to like me for me to be able to help them be better. That was my thought. And I would probably say, I don't know, this is going back like 10 or 15 years. I think the light bulb went off and I was just like, you know what? Doesn't really matter. I like me. That's all that matters to me. So I think I was free from that. Where are you guys with
That's a hard
people
thing to come to
pleasing?
terms with. I like me. Like even saying that out loud feels a little uncomfortable.
Well, because why? Because we think that that means it's arrogance or it's being.
I don't know. Does it? I mean, I think. I mean, now I feel. But even now, like I feel like just saying like I like me sounds
And in
uncomfortable.
fact, I don't just like me. I love me. Like I really, really love me. And I say that in a very humble way. I don't want to sound, but I really do love me. I think I'm an amazing person and I love me, as long as once upon a time, I couldn't say that. I could not say that. And so
Yeah.
I can say it. Does that not mean, I don't know. What about you, Jamie?
I think part of struggling saying I like me is that aspect of always trying to improve yourself. It's like you kind of pick yourself apart a little bit and it's like, oh, I want to improve this about myself. I was thinking just in the workplace, I've been in a workplace where I didn't necessarily feel, I was in a setting where there weren't anyone who were like me. They weren't similar to me. So it was hard to connect with them. And so then the default is, all right, if they're not going to genuinely like my personality, then I'm going to hopefully help have them respect me. Right. And that's where that underestimate me aspect of it fits
Yeah,
in.
I was just going to say, do you find that people underestimate you? Because people definitely underestimate me all the time. And I don't.
If they don't immediately, if I don't feel that vibe of I'm going to win them over with my personality, I'm definitely going to win you over with my
Results.
my brain, my ambition, my responsiveness. I'm going to win you over with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Core. Do people underestimate you?
I guess I don't know. I like to think that I'm pretty consistent, but there's been a couple different events where people are asking me like, well, did you think about this? Did you think about this? And I've already like I don't like surprises. And
Right.
so I think that one of my superpowers is the ability to play out whatever's happening like 20 choices deep. Like I've already thought about, well, if we do this, these are the 19 things that can happen. If we do this, then these are the other things that can happen on the other end. So I feel like I try to, especially when the stakes are high and there's a lot of moving pieces, I try to figure out, and you can't obviously anticipate all the things, but I do think more often than not that people go in or like are participating in something where they aren't quite sure what's going to happen. And then they come out the other end like, oh, that was really fun, or I'm glad that we did that, or what, so I think that there's a little bit of an anticipation at the front end where things tend to play out at the back end.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's just be yourself, be real, be authentic. I've been in a situation now multiple times where I've taken over a team that is a team of veterans. Like they know everything about whatever their product is or things like that. And I've had leaders say, your job is the first thing you need to do is get in there and get them to like you, get them. And I always take that. I change that for myself. It's not that I need to get in and get them to like me. What I need to do is get them to know me, because if they know me, they will like me. It's just as simple as that. Because if I'm just being myself and I know that I genuinely care about people, they're going to see that. And when people are not that, when they don't genuinely care about people and they just care about themselves, or they just care about making money or hitting the number, people can see right through that. And I think that that's where people fall into someone not liking them. So if I just show up and I just be myself, and genuinely care about people, and I can tell that people still don't like me, oh well, let them. I really don't care. And
Well, that
so,
is a different perspective, like thinking about people, if they like you or if they know you.
right,
Those are two different things. And I do like that perspective. I think that is a shift in mindset, because whether or not somebody likes you, it's all subjective, but who you are is who you are. And whether they know you and what your management style is, how you react to different things, that's different. And people
right.
can work around that, right? That's a good point. That's a good takeaway.
So I think that when we think about, to just kind of bring all this home, all four of these come back to one thing, and that's control. And the truth is, we've been trying to control things that were never ours to carry. And that really is the takeaway. You are not responsible for other people's emotions. You are not required to fix what you didn't break. You don't need to be understood to move forward, and you don't need to be liked to lead powerfully. So I just think that this was a great discussion. And what do you guys have as far as takeaways, or what you hope that our listeners got from this conversation? What do you got?
I really like what you just said. You're not responsible to fix what you didn't break, or however you stated that. And also, I think for me, what brings this home for me is just I think it was maybe number 2 or 3 where you said, or you brought up the fact of you're not responsible for other people's happiness. You can control your own happiness, but it isn't your job to make sure everybody else is happy. It's just a reminder, I think, for probably everyone.
Yeah.
Just,
Absolutely.
I think that my takeaway is, well, one, what we just talked about, but also I think that whole idea of letting people live in their struggle, I kind of wonder if the reason that it's hard for me to watch people struggle because it makes me uncomfortable. And I don't like to sit in a space and time where I feel uncomfortable. So I'm trying to like speed them up. Like, hey, let me just do this for you.
Yeah.
It's like if somebody's trying to open up a jar, like that is just, it's like painful to watch sometimes. But if you don't just let them just like muscle through it and just try it, or like try to like figure something out. So it sometimes comes down to, maybe it's just more of a me thing than it is a them thing when they're on their own journey to try to struggle through something. And so I guess all that to say is, my takeaway is that being patient and giving people margin with their own struggles, and let them learn at their space and learn at their speed, is probably the best gift you can give people. Like, it's not that we don't want to help them, but letting them go through their own canceling or their own struggle at their time is okay.
Well, not to get away from our wrap up, but this is like every time I leave a family function, my husband's like, you've said bye 5 times. But it just made me think of this. It's like, back in the day, I would have never, like, my brothers have been in and out of jail my whole life. And I would have never let one of my brothers sit in jail. Both of my brothers are in jail right now. One of them has a bond that's $1,000, $1,000. Like, seriously, I spend $1,000 on a purse. Like, I have $1,000 to go get my brother out of jail. And once upon a time, the feeling of going and bailing my brother out of jail was so rewarding for me. I have to ask myself, was it for me or was it for him? Like, was that my worth that I put, like, that feeling that, one, I had $1,000 that I can just blow on getting someone out of jail, or the feeling that I rescued him? Like, you made me think of that, when it's like, is it for me? So he's in jail. I wouldn't care if his bond was $15. I'm not getting him out of jail, because that's not my place. He's in there for a reason. I did everything I could to stop that from happening, supporting him, trying to rescue him, and he denied the help. So now here's the consequence. And it's crazy that he's already been in there for months on $1,000 bond. And so it's just, I have to let him. And does it hurt to know that my brothers are sitting in jail and I have the means to bond them out? Sure. But it's not my burden to carry. I didn't put him there.
Right.
So
that's tough too. That's a tough place to be. I know how that feels.
Yeah. So listen, our listeners, you may not have brothers in jail right now with $1,000 bond, but I'm sure that, and some of our listeners may very well, but I'm sure there is someone that's in their version of my brother in jail. And again, it's not your burden. It's not your burden to carry. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Good stuff. I hope you guys have some takeaways. And tonight, when you go to sleep, if you're like me and sometimes you stay up wondering how to fix everyone's problems, that you get a better night's sleep. Follow us on all social media, a Lead Like a Girl Lab on YouTube, subscribe, and TikTok, Facebook, all of the social media. So share this with someone. I know you know one person that needs this. How does the pastor say it? Someone on your row, not you, someone on your row, and send it to them. And we will see you next time at Lead Like a Girl.